Welcome back, everyone. So today I want to talk about the original Mary Poppins because Mary Poppins Returns comes out this week. And Mary Poppins, the original, is one of those movies that I grew up with. I even own a couple VHS copies over here, too, as well. And this is just one of those movies, one of those classic Disney movies that has never lost its charm. It's always so sweet, so fun, so entertaining, so funny, so charming. Like, it is one of the best Disney movies out of any Disney movie ever. Like, this is truly one of the best, and I love Mary Poppins, and I think it's, again, because I've grown up with it and just how people interpret it. So many people love this movie as well and think it's a fantastic movie, and it truly deserves all the praise it gets, in my opinion. I really think that everything about it works. I love how it's got one of the absolute best Disney scores ever. Like, it's one of the best musicals, hands down, and there are many, many fantastic Disney musicals, but in this film alone, like, in 1964, how they were able to do all of this, to make this, everything they did in this, I'm wondering how they did these effects. I'm wondering how they did this integration of live action and 2D, or how they're doing the moments where, like, Mary Poppins pulls stuff out of her purse and Michael's underneath the table looking at it. Like, how do you, like, you do a cross, like, image of, like, or cross video of, like, one part on the bottom, one part on the top, because they integrated the effects so well. And I love how this is just a timeless movie in terms of the effects as well. I think the effects are incredible because they're all practical, with the integration of 2D animation as well. Just everything about the music as well is just incredibly memorable, and every song is memorable, and every one of them I could sing immediately. And I'm not really much of a singer, but just every song I know top of my head. And I'm gonna basically go down the plot kind of in this review, because it's hard with these types of movies that I love, that I can't just say, oh, I like this, I like this. I kind of got to go down the plot. So I love how the opening and the ending start with her on the clouds. I think that's a cool shot of, like, the opening of the movie, where, like, you see the clouds in the open titles, and then you cut to a cloud up in the air. Mary Poppins is just sitting there, like, powdering her nose or her face or whatever, and then just looking down, sitting there waiting, like something's gonna happen, like they're waiting for something, or she's waiting for something to happen. And I think that's really funny. I like how it ends with clouds and the credits at the end of the movie as well. And I also love how it opens with Bert, who is Dick Van Dyke's character, who is, again, an incredibly memorable character. Like Mary Poppins herself, this is a truly memorable performance. This guy is so fun, so entertaining, so likable. Dick Van Dyke, no matter what I see him in, he has got such charm and charisma in a way where it's so good. Like, he's so great in this movie, and I truly think he's amazing in this movie as well as Julie Andrews. But it opens up with Bert, who looks at the audience and takes you around the village town and tells you all these different places and leads you to the Banks house. And I really liked how that opened up this world, and he tells you, like, this is where this is where this is going to happen. The wind's moving east. That means something's going to happen. And it's happened before, it'll happen again. And I like how then it goes to the Banks house, where you find all the people living in the Banks house, where you find Mr. and Mrs. Banks, and Ellen, the maid, and this nanny who is leaving because she can't handle the kids. They're too rambunctious. And all of these characters are so memorable with their performances. Mr. Banks, I like how he's this crotchety grump, and I really think David Tomlinson is really good in this role. Like, he really is this guy that you really get angry at, because he's such a character that is just too invested in work and doesn't have time for fun. He doesn't have time for fun ever, and his kids want fun. Mary Poppins brings the fun to them, and he gets angry at that. And I really like how he's a you love to hate him character, but as the movie goes along, you grow so much to like him, and I really like how that shows how great of a performance David Tomlinson has. And Mrs. Banks, I don't know the actress's name, but she is great too. This really fun character who it starts out where she's doing women's rights, and I like how it's fun because in 1910, I like the fact that she's doing that. I think that that's great, and of course. I like the fact that she's fighting for women's rights, and she's just a funny character. Like, she comes in and she just is so kind of like assertive and happy about everything. Like, she comes in and says like, "Oh, we went and stomped all the flowers on that guy's lawn who was like protesting against women's rights." Like, I really liked her too as well. And I liked Ellen too, this maid character who is really funny because she, as the movie goes along, keeps seeing Mary Poppins as weird things happen, and she just opens her mouth like in a weird way, like in a weird like reaction, like she's freaking out 'cause she doesn't understand if this is real or not. So I like her as well. And Jane and Michael are both fun kid actors. Like, they're both really good, and they both, as the movie goes along, you really do think that they grow and do change. And they weren't like super bratty at the beginning, but like they by the end they're really loving characters as well. And I like how Mary Poppins is the one who changes it all, and she comes down after Mr. Banks rips apart this advertisement that the kids make, and he rips it in the chimney, and then the paper pieces fly up through the chimney, and then they appear up to Mary Poppins, and she comes down with it, and she comes and becomes the nanny. Now, I haven't spoken about Julie Andrews yet as Mary Poppins, and Julie Andrews, like, I love her regardless. I think she's a great actress. I think she's a great singer. She's got one of the greatest musical voices ever, I think, in my opinion. What she does with this role as Mary Poppins is truly really incredible. Like, this character who is very stern but very nice and caring, she has a perfect balance between being very stern and very caring to everybody, and she manipulates everybody in a very great way where, like, she makes everything right. And I love how her character is, and I love how she's got humanity to her, but she's such a mysterious, funny character. Like, every time someone mentions magical things that she does, she denies it and acts like that never happened. And I love that as well. That's such a great, funny thing that they do. And I just think that's so fun. And I like how she immediately, when all the nannies are coming to be interviewed, she comes down and the wind blows away every nanny, and then she comes in and wins them over, well, immediately, and she just says like, I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna watch the kids, and then they're like, what? And then she just says, I want this room, I want to be off on Tuesdays. Like, it's really funny just the way Julie Andrews comes in and asserts to everybody and manipulates everybody in a way where it makes everybody better people at the end of the movie. And I like how there's a great first scene with her and the kids where she sings the Spoonful of Sugar song, and like they clean up the room. And that's so cool with the practical effects of like everything like flying around in the room being fixed and being put up into like put the clothes being put in the drawers, or like the toys being put in the toy box, or like all these things that like is so fun with the magicness of like them, everything being cleaned up while like they're in awe, like Jane and Michael are so surprised. And I love little humorous moments where like she uses a measuring stick on Jane and Michael, and one of them she calls arrogant, and one she calls like pouty, and like it says it literally on the measuring stick, like their character is this. And then Mary Poppins, they said, why don't you measure you? And she goes, okay, and she gets a measuring stick, and on it she looks in the measuring stick and it says Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way. And I thought that's just a great humor, and that's really funny how this character is really like not stuck up, but she's really fun because she acts like she is perfect, and she is. I like that she is perfect, even though she acts like it as well. So I love that scene where they're cleaning up the nursery, and I like how after this they all, like Mary Poppins, Bert, and Jane and Michael go into the chalk paintings that Bert draws. And that alone is incredible for 1964, the use and integration of animation and live action. And I don't remember if Song of the South came out I think it came out right after this, and I haven't seen that movie, but I've seen clips of it, and I know it does the same thing with with integration of animation and live action. And also other movies like So Dear to My Heart did too, which I haven't seen either, but I know that does the same thing. Um, but I like how Disney started doing that in the 60s, where they integrated live action with animation, and honestly, the effects still hold up really well. Like, they do it to where they darken or lighten all the what the characters wear, like the live action characters, to where it integrates well with the cartoon animation. Like, that's really cool. Um, and I like, whenever they're in the paintings, like, there's just fantastic, funny little moments where, like, Bert, for example, whenever the penguins come over and take their order, they do a dance, and Bert pulls down his pants a little bit and he waddles like a penguin. Like, that's really funny. Or whenever they're all on the carousel with the horses, and the horses break off of the carousel and they just keep floating up and down, like they're literally on the carousel, but they're still flying around with, like, on the horse from the carousel, but it looks like they're still going up and down on a carousel, but they've escaped from it. That's really cool. And I love the song Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and I can't believe I messed up on that, but but that's just such a great fun song, and that's such an interesting word that nobody has ever, like that's such an incredibly weird but cool word. Um, and there's that's a great moment and a great song with the Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. That's a great song, and I like after this we get like this fun moment, like later in the movie, where they go to her Uncle Albert's, which is this character who is laughing so hard that he floats up in the air to go up into the ceiling, and he can't come down because he's laughing so hard. And it makes it to where everybody starts laughing really hard, and Mary Poppins eventually is so mad, but she gives in, like, okay, fine, and then she comes and floats up herself while everybody's laughing, and they have tea up on the ceiling, and that's just such a cool, fun thing. And that guy who played Uncle Albert, I think, was the voice of the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland, the original Alice in Wonderland. That's cool, and that was pretty close to when Alice in Wonderland came out, like 10 years or so difference, 1950. No, it was more than 10 years. It was like 1951. Alice in Wonderland original came out. But I love that. That's such a fun scene. And I love how they have to think sad thoughts to come down from the ceiling from laughing. And I like how after this, as the movie goes along, Mr. Banks is upset with Mary Poppins because he thinks that the kids are being more and more happy and more childish because they're children, but he doesn't understand that. He wants them to be adults when they're this young. He wants them to be adults really quickly. And the kids need to learn more about real life. So what Mary Poppins does is she manipulates everybody, where she sings them a song, Jane and Michael, this song called Feed the Birds, which is one of the most incredible songs I've ever heard in my life. This is one of the most truly moving songs ever, and it's just about a woman feeding birds. Like an old lady who's homeless feeding birds on the side of the bank, like sitting there. And it is one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard, and the use of the angelic choir as well is beautiful, and it's just truly an amazing song. And her voice is just truly blows me away every time. It gives me goosebumps because it's such an incredible scene. It's my favorite scene in the whole movie, even though the whole movie's fantastic. And then I love also how we get the chimney sweep thing, where like Bert and Mary Poppins and the kids go and do chimney sweeps, or they fly up to the roof and they do this dance where it feels like it's actually it looks like it's actually a stage play, like it looks legitimate, like you're sitting there in an audience watching a stage play. It's truly great and really incredible how much choreography and effects work they had to do to get that to work with being up on the roofs and dancing and doing all those certain moves. And I love that. I think that's great. And I love how they go down to the Banks' house, all these dirty men with Mary Poppins and the kids, and they all go dance, and Ellen's freaking out, and then dances with everybody too. And then Mrs. Banks comes in and dances with everybody too. And then Mr. Banks comes in and is furious. But I like this because then Mr. Banks, from earlier in the movie, whenever Michael runs away with his tuppence and he doesn't give it to the bank guy, that makes Mr. Banks, he's going to be fired. Like, Mr. Banks is going to be fired. And I love that moment where he walks down the street and he's going to the bank to, because they called him and told him to come down. And they said, like, you've been here for this long and we respect you for all this time, but, like, you need to come down and talk to us. And that moment where it's an instrumental version of Feed the Birds and it's got the angelic choir again is truly beautiful. And he goes to the stairs and doesn't see the bird lady. Does she die? Is she dead? And I like that a lot. I think that's great. Because it makes whenever you see her, his reaction, it's got an angelic choir to it, like maybe she did die, she went to heaven. I think that's a really great moment. And he gets dismissed, but I loved how he starts to be truly happy. And he finally sets it to where everybody, like, the whole family is happy together because Mr. Banks is finally happy. He's learned to let go of being such a tight person about not wanting his young kids to be children. He wants them to be adults immediately. And I like how it took him leaving his job or getting dismissed to see that. And all of that was because of Mary Poppins doing that to help everybody. And I love how she manipulated everybody to do that every single time. You can see so many times in the movie where she tells somebody to do something or she says something slyly that makes her plan go along, and it's just great. And there's a great moment at the very end of the movie because the dad makes the kite for Jane and Michael, and all four of them, Jane, Michael, and Mr. and Mrs. Banks, go out and fly a kite, and they sing that song, Let's Go Fly a Kite, which is a great song as well, and a great song to end on. And I love how they run outside, and Mary Poppins just looks at him from the window and kind of almost sheds a tear. Like, she just looks there sad because she knows she has to leave them again. Like, she did what she wanted. She did what she was supposed to. She made the dad truly be happy and have the family be happy again. And I love how her voice breaks after the parrot on her cane talks to her, on her umbrella talks to her, and says like you're leaving. You made them happy. And she says to him, like, her voice breaks, and she says, as it should be. And, like, you could tell that she's truly formed a connection with these kids and with this family. And she's so happy that they're finally happy together, but that means she's got out of the picture. And I love that moment where she just leaves while they go out and fly a kite, and it's just a bittersweet ending. She flies out, and then you see Bert look at her, wave at her goodbye. And she waves goodbye to him too, and she floats away, and it just ends in the clouds, and it ends with that song, Let's Go Fly a Kite, where it becomes, by the end, just such an epic final ending, where, like, she floats away, and everybody's happy, and it's just a satisfying ending with everything about it. And it makes it so chilling with the choir music and with her just floating away. Like, it's just truly beautiful. Like, I love everything about the ending of this movie, and I love this movie overall, and I think it's an incredible Disney movie, one of Disney's best movies. And I try not, and it's hard to rank between live action and animation because Disney has so many animated movies but so many live action, and there are a lot of live action I haven't seen, but out of all the live action Disney movies, this is the best one for me. This is truly an incredible movie. Everything about it I mentioned in this whole review is just, it blows me away. I think this is an incredible Disney movie, and I truly love everything about it. And I'm so excited to see Mary Poppins Returns, whether it's good or bad or just all right. I'm excited to see what that brings in store for the next iteration of Mary Poppins. So I'm so glad I rewatched this. I'm glad doing this review gave me an excuse to rewatch this again. So thank you guys so much for watching. Tell me down below what you think of the original Mary Poppins. And thank you guys so much for watching.